What the? It's that time again! Modern is rotating! Well, sort of. It's Modern Horizons 3. This is Modern Horizons 2. I don't have Modern Horizons 3 in hand. Use your imagination. But Modern Horizons 3 is hitting shelves shortly, and in so doing, we'll leave it in, is adding tons of pushed and overpowered cards to the modern card pool, which creates a kind of pseudo-rotation, forcing us to abandon our classic and beloved cards from throughout Magic's history in favor of just playing whatever's in the new set. And I was the one who used to advocate that Wizards of the Coast find a way to monetize Modern and figure out how to use it to sell packs. You win again, Monkey's Paw. But despite my misgivings about the pseudo-rotation of Modern, these sets are nonetheless a wild ride with powerful and innovative new designs, awesome reprints of old cards or fan favorites from Commander sets, and of course, lots of callbacks and inside jokes catering to Magic fans who have been around since the very beginning of time, such as myself. This video will cover the top 5 best new cards from Modern Horizons 3 for Modern. Even if you don't play Modern, these cards may likely still have relevance in other formats, even Commander. So hopefully you'll enjoy our analysis of the cards and suggested card synergies and combos. So with that being said, let's throw out the old and dive into the new with Modern Horizons 3. Whoa, and speaking of old, I'm cleaning out my closets. I need to get rid of this stuff. I'm giving it away. I'm selling it on my next Whatnot stream during the big Whatnot card show this weekend on Whatnot. I will be streaming this Thursday all the way through Sunday, and everything's gotta go. We're giving away collector booster boxes. We're giving away Unstable. Play it with your friends. All of this stuff. I'm selling some of it, like Theros. See this? See these boxes of Theros? I bought these right when I started my YouTube channel at my local game store because I wanted to invest in Magic. I'm not joking. I bought these, a case, there's 6 of them, and I was like, they're gonna go up in value. And 11 years later, I can now sell them for $1 more a pack than I paid. So I'm getting rid of them, and I'm gonna make $36 times 6. Is that enough for me to buy 1 booster box of Modern Horizons 3? Maybe. Whatnot. So just create an account by going to www.whatnot.com/invite/Tolarian College. You'll get $15 to spend during the big Whatnot card show this weekend. It's tomorrow. I'm on stream tomorrow. I'm on stream Sunday. Come on in, hang out in my stream. I'm giving so much of this stuff away. You don't have to spend anything to enter. Just be in stream. Maybe you'll win some cool booster boxes or collector booster boxes, or maybe you want an original Theros pack that the professor bought as an investment 11 years ago, and it didn't turn out to be a very good investment, but there's still some cool cards in there. I don't know. I hope very much to see you during the Whatnot card show. We're gonna have a great time. Tune into my streams. We've got 2 days of it, and use my invite code to get $15 to buy $15 worth of Magic product. My gift to you, as well as all the cool things that I will be giving away this wild card show weekend on Whatnot, sponsor of this video. First up is our honorable mention, or should I say honorable mentions? Because there's a whopping 10 cards here that make the honorable mention slot. That's right, it's the double cycle of monocolor double-face bolt lands. These lands are a revisitation of the cycle of the mythic bolt lands from Zendikar Rising, but in traditional Modern Horizons fashion, these designs are all many orders of magnitude better than the originals. These kind of land spell combos are great because they give you insurance for both mana flood and mana screw. If you're mana screwed, you play them as a land. Flooded, cast the spell. The only fair application of these cards prior to Modern Horizons 3 was their use as painful lands that could pitch to the Modern Horizons 2 evoke elementals. The Modern Horizons 3 bolt lands are an entirely different story. These are much cheaper to cast on the front side, making them much more realistic to cast. They are still overcosted compared to a non-double-faced card land version of the same effect, but their fail-case use as an untapped land more than makes up for the extra mana cost on the front side. Out of all of these, the two very best are Disciple of Freyalise, a fantastic Summoner's Pactable land/spell combo for Amulet Titan, and Fell the Profane, the hero's downfall to Hagra Mauling's murder. These lands will still be useful for the pre-Modern Horizons 3 purpose that made their predecessors see play. Oops All spells and Evoke Elemental decks will certainly upgrade their mana bases, but now fair decks will get to play them too. The question isn't should my modern deck play a Bolt land, but how many Bolt lands should my modern deck play? Now for the real heaters. Number 5 on our list is one of the first preview cards from Modern Horizons 3, Flare of Cultivation. Flare of Cultivation is Cultivate, except it costs 1 and double green instead of 2 green, and you can cast it for 0 mana if you sacrifice a non-token green creature. The Flare cycle is Modern Horizon 3's free spell cycle, to go with the forces from Modern Horizons 1 and the Evoke Elementals from Modern Horizons 2. All 5 spells in this cycle can be cast for free by sacrificing a non-token creature of the same color as the spell. Several cards from this cycle look like they'll be good in Modern, but Flare of Cultivation is my pick for the best Flare for this format. Why? Well, Cultivate is a powerful card. It's not at Modern power level, but putting a land into play and another in your hand is just a really good effect in a vacuum. So being able to do it on turn 1 for 0 mana is absurdly powerful. The card is essentially a mana dork that can't be lightning bolted. Yes, you have to sacrifice a creature card to cast it, but you replace that creature with a land in hand that you can then play next turn. The best creature to sacrifice for Flare of Cultivation is probably Arboreal Grazer, as the combination of Grazer, Flare, and an extra land already in hand puts 3 mana into play on turn 1, with again another land drop to play for next turn. That's a turn 2 1 ring, something that previously only Amulet Titan was reasonably capable of doing in Modern. Or it's a turn 2 Karn the Great Creator, or any other 4-drop that gets better the sooner you can cast it, also known as any 4-drop. The other best current home for Flare of Cultivation is likely Golgari Yawgmoth, a deck that has both lots of expendable creatures to sacrifice, such as Young Wolf, and powerful, expensive cards to ramp into, like Yawgmoth himself. But Flare of Cultivation is also powerful enough that it wouldn't surprise me if it spawned an entirely new turbo ramp archetype all on its own. Next up is Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath. Uro is an exceptionally powerful and recursive threat that... Wait a minute, Uro is in this set? Oh, I'm sorry, I got my notes all mixed up. Number 4 on the list is Flage, Titan of Fire's Fury, who just happens to be Uro's similarly angry sister, I think? Or maybe they're just friends. The lore is probably easily Googleable. No, wait, it's not. Google's broken. But either way, lore is not the reason that Flage is on this list. See, the Titans from Theros Beyond Death are very, very good. I'm sure I don't need to tell you that. Kroxa is a strong card, and Uro is one of the most broken creatures to ever be legal in Modern, and that's saying something. Flage has the same mana cost as Uro, except in Boros colors, and lightning helixes whenever she enters the battlefield or attacks. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't expect Flage to be quite as good as Uro was. If I did, she'd be a lot higher on this list, but I do expect her to be better than Kroxa is by a decent margin. You might think that 3 mana is too much to pay for the front half. After all, Lightning Helix itself barely sees any play at 2 mana, and that's an instant. But remember, 3 mana was also expensive for a growth spiral that gained 3 life and that didn't stop Uro from dominating. In fact, I'd argue that Flage's front half is on par with, or perhaps even better than Uro's. 3 mana to clear a creature from the board and gain some life will often help stabilize even better than 3 life, a card, and an extra land drop ever did. Now, Uro is certainly better than Flage once you're ready to start escaping, but not by a lot. Flage is going to be exceptionally punishing versus any deck that's trying to race you. Uro was good in those spots too, refueling you and gaining life when it attacked. But those attacks could sometimes be costly if your opponent had sufficient pressure on the back swing. You really needed the cards you drew off Uro to help you interact with the board if you wanted to guarantee that you win the race. Flage, on the other hand, does a much better job at winning winning races versus aggro decks all on her own. Not only can she clear away problematic counterattackers, but even versus a board full of creatures too small to be worth removing, she attacks for a whopping 9 damage if you send the extra damage at your opponent's face. If your opponent ever shocked a land earlier in the game, then that's a kill in 2 turns. Flage is a much better card than many modern players are giving her credit for. She will certainly see play in the 4-color Omnath deck, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Boros decks of all flavors crop up to support her, a welcome development for a color pair that has been underpowered in Modern for quite a while. Next up, we have a powerful value creature with some bonus combo potential. Nadu, Winged Wisdom. Nadu is the first card on this list without much precedent. A 3-mana, 3/4 flyer in Simic colors, Nadu gives all your creatures, whenever this creature becomes the target of a spell or ability, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land card, put it onto the battlefield. Otherwise, put it into your hand. This ability triggers only twice each turn. If that ability sounds familiar, that's because it's similar to Risen Reef's card advantage ability. Okay, so maybe there is a little bit of precedent with Nadu. Look, there's over 100 Magic cards at this point. I think even over 200. Something's always going to remind you of something else. Nonetheless, Nadu is an excellent value card all on his own, since he gives himself that ability as well. A 3/4 flyer with 3 mana is an excellent rate, and any attempt your opponent makes to remove it will draw you a card, or even better, put a land directly into play from the top of your deck. It's a good thing Nadu's ability is limited to twice per turn, because otherwise he would be exceptionally broken. If you're targeting that creature with a spell or ability that costs 0 mana, you can do it multiple times in a turn easily. Shuko, for example, has an equip cost of 0, and is tutorable off Urza's Saga. Outstrider and Core has a 0 mana ability that can target your creatures repeatedly. Yes, you can only trigger Nadu's ability twice per creature, but that should be more than enough to draw a ton of cards and put a ton of lands into play. And if you blink a creature at any point during your turn, then that twice per turn clause resets for it, since it's a new game object. Nadu is an awesome build-around card. Even if the more combo-y elements with the 0 mana target abilities don't wind up being playable, he's also just a great value creature for a Bant Blink style deck. After all, Ephemerate and Soul Herder both also trigger Nadu's ability. So for all those reasons and more is why Nadu is our number 3 pick for best new card for Modern from Modern Horizons 3. So what are the top 2 cards from Modern Horizons 3 for Modern? Well, spoiler alert, they're both lands. And spoiler reminder, giving away, selling, so many giveaways on my Whatnot stream, so if you skip the early part, just tune in. Whatnot stream this Thursday and Sunday. Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about the best cards. The number 2 most powerful new card from Modern Horizons 3 is Ugin's Labyrinth, a powerful soul land for big colorless decks. Ugin's Labyrinth has Imprint. Exile a colorless card from your hand with mana value 7 or greater. Labyrinth taps for a colorless mana, or 2 colorless mana if you imprinted a card to it. You can also tap Ugin's Labyrinth to return the card you imprinted to your hand. I know I don't have to sell you on the power level of a land that taps for 2 mana. After all, a turn 1 Chalice of the Void for 1 is the kind of thing that keeps Magic players up at night. But what else am I supposed to say other than that this card is capital B busted? Having to pitch a card in exchange for an extra mana is akin to cards like Mox Diamond and Chrome Mox, the latter of which is banned in Modern, as would Mox Diamond be if it were ever printed in a Modern legal set. Hopefully that's not a spoiler for Modern Horizons 4. Thanks to Labyrinth of Ugin, Eldrazi decks now get to play 8 soul lands to accelerate their massive creatures out earlier in a weaker but still powerful impression of the Eye of Ugin decks from the dreaded Eldrazi winter. The cost, of course, is having to up the number of expensive Eldrazi that these decks play, but that shouldn't be a problem, given that Modern Horizons 3 has also added a bunch of strong, expensive Eldrazi to the format. Devourer of Destiny, for example, Hiregast, Erupting Nullkite, Breaker of Creation, Null Drifter. These are all cards that fit the bill. Heck, even the new versions of the Eldrazi Titans are all reasonable cards for these decks to play. And that doesn't even include the classics, such as Elder Deep Fiend Fiend, World Breaker, and All Is Dust. But what's so powerful about Ugin's Labyrinth is that there are other decks that can play it as well. Affinity can play this card, for example. Heck, even regular Tron could play this card if it wanted to, though it would require altering the deck list somewhat to make it work. But I could even imagine Ugin's Labyrinth leading to a deck built around the good prototype artifacts from Brothers War. So mark my words, Ugin's Labyrinth is not only one of the most powerful new cards from Modern Horizons 3, but it's a card that you're going to be seeing in a lot of places for years to come. So what is the #1 most powerful new card for Modern from Modern Horizons 3? Well, it's a land, but not just any land. Coming in at #1, we have another land that is positively broken. Shifting Woodland, the green edition of a cycle of rare monocolor lands that are reminiscent of the castles from original Eldraine, entering untapped if you control the corresponding basic land for its color. While the other 4 cards in this cycle could certainly be good too, Shifting Woodland is by far the strongest among them, and indeed is my pick for the strongest card among the entire set. Why? Well, Shifting Woodland has a 4-mana Delirium ability. If you have 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard, you can turn Shifting Woodland into a copy of any permanent card in your graveyard until end of turn. Alright, I need you to take a moment to close your eyes, close them, and picture the best possible card in Modern that Shifting Woodland can become a copy of. I'll give you a second. Are you imagining a 10-mana blue enchantment? Good. That's right, for 4 mana, Shifting Woodland can become a copy of Omniscience. And because the ability doesn't require Shifting Woodland to tap, that means you can use it to pay for its own ability, so you only need 3 other lands. It's not hard to set this combo up, either. For example, Urza's Saga can tutor for an Expedition map, which can tutor for a Shifting Woodland, and put 3 card types into the graveyard while you're at it. Or you can always just cast Flare of Cultivation off of a creature that you just cast off of a land that you fetched, putting again 3 card types in the graveyard. If that creature was an Arboreal Grazer, then congratulations! You're an Omniscience in graveyard away from having an Omniscience in play on turn 2. As a backup to your Omnisciences, you can also turn Shifting Woodland into a copy of any massive permanent you might want to cast off of your Omniscience, such as an Ulamog or an Atraxa. If your Woodland was already in play when you activated it, you can attack and get whatever attack trigger the permanent you copied might have. Even outside of its combo potential, Woodland is an excellent value card in decks with high-impact creatures. It can become a copy of Yawgmoth, for example, or an Omnath. It can become a Primeval Titan. The one thing to note with Shifting Woodland is that you can't copy a Planeswalker with it. Or rather, you can, but then the Woodland would immediately die due to state-based effects, because it would have 0 loyalty. But any other permanent type is fair game. And hey, look, even though I do have my misgivings about the pseudo-rotation that Modern Horizons sets have upon my beloved Modern, I still love Modern, and I love Magic the Gathering, and I will be playing at the Modern Horizons 3 pre-release at SCG Con Las Vegas next week, so I hope very much to see you there. It's going to be a wild event with so much going on, but best of all is the Modern Horizons 3 pre-release, not to mention all the other cool things going on. Wow, I'll certainly be there, and I hope very much you will be too. And if you can't wait until Las Vegas to hang out with me, then hang out with me tomorrow or Sunday on my Whatnot stream, where I'm giving away so much of, we're emptying the Tolarian Community College closets. It all has to finally go. So it's the big Whatnot card show, and it's time to just give it away or resell some of it to recoup my lost, sunk costs. It's cool stuff. We got Jumpstart, we got collector booster boxes, and we got $15 credit for you to spend on any of these cool streams, mine or anyone's, when you create an account by going to www.whatnot.com/invite/Tolarian College. It's the big Whatnot card show weekend and the giant cleaning out of Tolarian Community College's ridiculous overstuffed closets. I hope very much to see you there, or also in Vegas.
On the season finale of Shuffle Up and Play,
We have brought our very first Commander Dex.
My name is Kenji Egashira, better known as Numat the Nummy.
I'm Sam from Ristic Studies.
I'm Spice 8-Rack, and if I'm here, who's flying the plane? Who are you?
I already said it.
Oh,
Note to future editor, leave that part in. That's hilarious.
Draw that insurrection. Reveal a land tax.
my God.
I don't think I was a very fun player to play against back in the day.
You literally announce yourself as going to destroy all our lands
Okay,
before
all right,
playing.
that's fair, that's fair.
Is there anything that I am scared of?
Are you scared of the future?
Oh, don't start this again. Bane of Progress.
No.
You got a crisp 20 to make me not pick that one?
No comments.
This is the first episode of Shuffle Up and Play where I'm not immediately targeted.
Well, thanks for reminding us.
Oh yeah, props here.
Get him!
Non-god gamers.